He also talks a good bit about the club being from a small club, and it's interesting as well because James McGivney is in a lot of the newspapers this morning, the Mullinalaghta player, who of course is playing against Kilmacud Crokes in the Leinster Club final this Sunday, and he just speaks about the fibre of their community, that is the GAA club, and he says that the post office closed down recently. There's only 44 students in the local primary school, and that the reason why a lot of these lads aren't emigrating is because of the club. Now obviously this has been an outrageously successful year for Mullinalaghta. Like, it is rare to see a Longford club in a Leinster final, extremely rare. So you do think about all these clubs that don't have the success of Mullinalaghta. They don't have the kind of light at the end of the tunnel that is a club season that will go deep into the year, that will go into November, December, and potentially, if they win on Sunday, into the new year. Like, all those people who don't have that thing that is keeping them at home, you do wonder if, to what extent is bad club calendar structure actually leading to people saying, oh, well, I've got nothing to stay at home for. That would actually have a material effect on people staying at home. Of course, immigration isn't as bad as it was 8 years ago, for example, but it is something worth thinking about, that McGivney is saying that there is a literal impact on reversing emigration, the strength of a football, or a GAA club, I should say.
Yeah, that is interesting because, you know, the big... It's constantly referred to in the GAA documentation over the last 20 years about the increased urbanisation of our society. That was the rationale for putting all the money behind the investment in GAA in Dublin. It was like, so many Irish people are moving to Dublin to live, we need to invest money so that the club system there is very strong. And so the GAA is part of people's thinking when it comes to what sport their kids are going to play. That's been very successful. A knock-on impact of that is that the Dublin senior team is wiping all before them. There's always a sense that they can't do anything about that, that they're not, that the GAA is watching this unfold, as opposed to actually potentially being able to help re-engineer it a little bit by having a system that everybody plays 20 club games a year in good weather, and that there's something to stick around for. I never ever thought of that or considered it, and like, on the face of it, it doesn't seem to make that much sense, because you think, who is going to stick around for their hobby? But it's not actually a hobby, it's about your lifestyle, and it's about a sense of belonging, and it's about your identity. And if you feel that there's something worth fighting for in your town, then maybe there is a knock-on impact, and maybe 3 people stay, and suddenly that's 3 customers for a small local business that doesn't go bust because they're the 3 customers that actually give them the profit margin. I don't know. I mean, economics...
We can't dismiss this idea, basically.
No, economics and I don't know if you ever saw that video of, was it Yellowstone National Park, where they reintroduced some wolves, and all of a sudden it changed the topography because the wolves would come and eat some of the animals that were grazing on the side of the river. Those animals stopped grazing on the side of the river. The trees started to put down roots, the river moved, suddenly there's like a bend in the river and a small lake forms, and wildlife comes back, and suddenly the whole thing changes from the reintroduction of 3 wolves. So like... What
about the species of wolves or the species of animal that was being consumed by the wolves? Did they just completely become extinct?
Well, no, because they just move. Okay. Like, that's the thing, they just move away and they go somewhere else. But like, the smallest of things can have a massive impact, was basically sure. the tortured point that I'm making there. And so, I don't know, maybe a regular GAA season that was giving small towns and communities reasons to gather 10 times a year in their own place and 10 times a year around the rest of the county would actually help small rural economies to begin to thrive and communities to thrive.
You mentioned purpose there. Like, you look at any club championship around the country, because of the fact that it's junior, intermediate, senior, there is a sense of purpose for most clubs. They have a sense of going out there every year thinking, well, we can win a couple of games this year, and a lot of teams are thinking, well, we've got a chance of winning this, or at least they're fighting for avoiding relegation or whatever it is. Whereas if your purpose is an inter-county footballer, for example, well, in the vast majority of them, what's your purpose in a competitive sense? Of course, there is the purpose of representing your county, though.
Say everybody from the Mullinalaghta team gets called up to the Longford county team. Come the end of the league, will they all stick around for that?
It's a hypothetical question, but the answer is no.
Yeah.
The answer is obviously no. And that is sort of the grim reality, and it does come back to structure. And what McGivney is saying here is that there is a material impact on the sporting landscape that you enjoy and the actual life that you enjoy, and quite often where in the world you're enjoying it. It's something that, as I say, we can't really dismiss, that it's quite an easy thing to hold up and say, well, it's got a huge impact, but really it does. It's got a material one.
Yeah, Philadelphia, Ballybeg, what's the difference? They're all just a place to live at the end of the day. Tommy has been shouting in my ear, correcting the pronunciation. Go on, Tommy, give it to us again. Oh, go on.
Mullinalaghta,
that's different.
It is different.
Mullinalaghta. And what was the other one? Mullinalaghta. That sounds like South American. I apologise to all our South American friends living in Longford who are playing in the club football championship this weekend. But we will get the correct pronunciation and we will bring it to air properly, preferably from a native speaker who can send us in some audio these days.